Hi friends, welcome to Harmony Hills Home and Garden. I'm Jenny and we live and garden here in Baltimore, Maryland, Zone 7. Today I'm really excited. I have a plant haul for you. It's from 3 different nurseries in 2 different states. So come with me and let's see all the plants that I have now to refill my plant stash for the late summer through the rest of the season. Here we are in the latter third of July. Let's say we're in the beginning of the second half of summer. Think of it that way. And a lot of people are not doing any planting right now because one, it's so dang blasted hot in so many places in the world where it's not normally this hot. Here in Maryland, we are having hot temperatures, but we also normally get hot temperatures. I think that we're not unseasonably hot right now. I'm knocking on wood about that and I'm very grateful. So I don't think that the plants that I want to plant now will be too stressed as long as I keep them well moistened throughout this hot season. When I was in Minnesota on vacation earlier in late June, early July, of course, my daughter-in-law and I went to a garden center. We went to Bachman's, the main Bachman's on Lyndale in Minneapolis. And, you know, there were some things that Beth wanted to put into her garden and there were some things that I wanted to put into my garden. So I bought them there and then I drove them home, 1,100 miles home to Maryland. I made sure that they were plants that would do well in my garden here. Of course, you don't want to buy things that are iffy or that wouldn't do well. And so that is the first part of the stash that I have going. And then the second part of the stash is right here. This is what I just came home with a few minutes ago from 2 different nurseries. I went to Homestead Gardens in Davidsonville, Maryland, and then I went to Patuxent Nursery in Bowie, Maryland. And between the 2 of those, I have a trunk full of great plants. I can't wait to share them all with you. Now, what am I going to be doing with all these plants, you might be thinking? Well, there are some rearrangements that I have to do. One, the deer have eaten down my hostas, the halcyon hostas that I have in the front yard, but they're back in the back of the border by the gate to the backyard. The deer have eaten those every single season. I thought I'd be able to keep them from eating them this year, but it didn't work. So I'm just going to have to move those halcyon hostas inside the fence and then replace them with something that is deer resistant. So some of these plants are destined for that area. In another area of the backyard, down by the rose arbor at the bottom of the hill, we have a lot of Walker's Low Nepota, which is a plant that I absolutely love. It's one of my very favorite plants, but it's not the right plant for that place. And so I need to remove the Walker's Low from that area and replace it with something else. So I've got some plants for that purpose. And then finally, inspired totally by both Garden Answer and Guiding Green Thumbs, I am on an echinacea kick. I'm trying to try out a lot of different types of echinaceas. I bought several different varieties of echinacea between these 3 plant trips, and I'm excited to share with you which ones I got. And plus maybe a couple of extra things here and there as well. So let's go over and look at the plants I brought home from Minnesota first. All right, I've got them all lined up here on the table. I'm just going to go down the row and tell you all about the plants one at a time. This is a Pulmonaria, otherwise known as Lungwort, and this is one of my plans for outside the gate where the hostas have to come out, and this will go in instead. Deer don't like the fuzzy leaves of Pulmonaria unless they're super starving, but usually they leave Pulmonaria alone. This one is called Raspberry Splash. I'm excited. It's going to have kind of a raspberry colored flowers on it in the spring. This one grows to be 12 inches tall, 12 to 18 inches wide. It's winter hardy in zones 3 through 9, so that's awesome. And it wants to be well watered. So I'm going to have to make sure that my drip irrigation that's out in that flower bed gets run near this Pulmonaria to keep it nice and moist. Let's see, it wants light shade is the best location for it. Mulch it to keep the roots cool and retain moisture in the summer and water generously. And it blooms in May to June time frame. So Pulmonaria Raspberry Splash. I'm excited for that. Okay, I didn't mention in my overview what plants I bought that I got some more hostas, but I kind of am interested in developing a little bit of a collection of miniature hostas. So I got my first miniature hosta here. This is blue mouse ears. Super cute, little guy, thick, round blue-green to gray-green leaves. Yep, that's what I would say. They do have a little bit of water spotting on it, so I'm going to see if I can clean that off. To make the leaves look a little bit prettier before I plant it. This grows to be 8 inches tall and 12 inches wide. It's hardy down to zone 3. Not surprising, I bought this in Minnesota, so they're offering plants that are hardy. I bought it in zone 4, but still, you know what I mean. Let's see, it wants to also stay well watered. Plant in moist, organic, rich, well-drained soil. Summer mulch to retain moisture. Remove faded flower stalks for best display. I need to find a location for him. Of course, inside the fence, I don't want the deer to be eating my little mini hostas. I'm going to try to find a spot where I can put all my little mini hostas near where I sit often so that I can enjoy them as I sit rather than walking past them and maybe missing them because they're so little and cute. Next up, this doesn't look like lungwort or catmint either, does it? No, it's because it's not. It is a Delphinium, Desante blue Delphinium, and it's blooming. I love it. Can you see the flower colors on this? Let me hold it still. It's absolutely gorgeous because every flower on it has blue, violet, lavender, and white, all on the same flower. I just thought, when this was at the nursery and it was in full bloom, I just thought it was absolutely gorgeous. So I bought it. Let's see. Desante blue Delphinium. Delphiniums are unsurpassed for dramatic, eye-catching display. Tall, densely packed spires of brilliant blue flowers with white bees. It is my understanding that the spires will be more densely packed on the first flush of the year, which happens earlier in the season. All right, this will grow to be about 32 inches tall and 21 inches wide. It's hardy, again, down to zone 3, and it's an upright growth habit. It also wants to stay well watered. Virtually any location is best in fertile, well-drained soil. Keep well watered during hot weather and remove faded flowers for best display. So the best flowers are in May to June, but it does sporadically continue to bloom throughout the rest of the season. So a Delphinium, I'm going to put this out in the front flower borders. I'm not sure where exactly. I do have a King Arthur Delphinium on the south side of the front flower border. So maybe this will go on the north side. I don't know. We'll find a spot. Beth and I were wandering around the shade, and well, actually all of the perennials, weren't we? We were wandering around all the perennials at Bachman's, and we came across this, and neither of us had really known what this was. It's called Magenia, or M-U-K-G-E-N-I-A. So is that Magenia, Mugenia? I don't know. There's the tag. This particular variety is called Nova Flame. Magenia, I don't know how to say that. All right, this is, let's see, it blooms in the early spring to summer, and it wants to be in full sun to part shade. It grows to be 8 to 12 inches tall and 14 inches wide. Sprays of dark pink flowers bloom above green leaves with burgundy edges. During cool weather, the jagged edge leaves turn brilliant colors. So it's not exactly cool weather right now, so we don't exactly have burgundy edged leaves quite yet, but maybe in the fall they will do that. Here is the picture. So we're going to try this out. Never heard of it, thought we'd give it a shot. Don't know exactly where it's going to go yet, and I don't know about its deer resistance. I need to do a little bit of research to see if the deer are going to find this tasty like lettuce or yucky. We'll find out. All right, and this is another plant that wasn't really in my plan, but I've had in the back of my, you know how you learn about plants and you think, man, if I ever see one of those, I'm going to give it a shot because it sounds interesting to me. Well, this is one of those plants. If I ever saw it in the nursery, I thought I would pick one up, and lo and behold, I found one. This is the Pardon My Rose Monarda from Proven Winners. It is a short one. I'm always interested in trying dwarf varieties of some plants that I know and love. I love Monarda, but usually the ones that I get are like 3 feet tall, and I wanted to see if a short one would work. So this one only grows to be 14 to 18 inches tall, and it wants to be spaced 22 to 28 inches apart from another one. These are hardy in zones 4 through 9, and it blooms in the mid to late summer. It wants full to part sun. So again, this one's only going to be a foot or a foot and a half tall. It's a little shorter than that right now because it's in its pot. But you know, from the soil level to the top of it, it'll only be about that tall, and it won't go crazy spreading all around your flower bed. That's one of the things that Proven Winners markets itself for, and that is that they have selected plants that don't become too aggressive in the garden. So, and I've heard this one talked about on a few different gardening channels. And the part in my rose is supposed to be a Monarda that stays low and kind of, it flushes out and fills out an area, but it doesn't overtake something. So I'm looking forward to having this. I'm going to be planting this out front most likely, although I'm not exactly sure. Again, Monarda is a plant that deer usually leave alone because of the fact that they kind of have minty smell and taste to them. These leaves are not fuzzy, they're actually glossy, but the stems are square, and honestly I can't smell anything right now, so I don't know if it smells like mint like so many other Monardas do, but I'm guessing that it does. So this will be a nice addition to the garden. And by the way, the color I think is a really vibrant raspberry color, and I'm looking forward to having that. The next three plants I want to share with you, which are the last three that I got in Minnesota, these are exactly because I've been coveting the echinaceas on Garden Answer and on Guiding Green Thumbs. So those two channels have really fed my desire for beautiful echinacea plants. So here's what I got. This one is called Ruby Star. Now I've tried Ruby Star before, and I don't know, it was back when I wasn't such a good gardener. So that sounded odd. Anyway, I hope you know what I mean. It was back before I knew what I was doing a little bit. So I'm going to try Ruby Star again. These are a little bit, tired and faded and need to get in the ground. So these have been sitting in the pot on this table since we got back, and that was 10 days ago. So I need to get this into the ground somewhere. It does have some buds on it, but it is struggling for water. I need to take care of it. Ruby Star. This one is called Mini Belle, and it's one of the pom-pom types. I just love the shape of these flowers. I love that they're double and they have these little, super thick leaf structures, or petal structures, I suppose. Got a dead stem here, so I need to groom that up a little bit. But it's got lots of buds coming along, so I need to get this one in the ground as well so that it can thrive and these buds can develop to full maturity. So I forgot to say the Ruby Star specifications. Actually, this one doesn't have a tag. Ruby Star, I will put all the information up on the screen on the sidebars like I always do. I don't know the information on Ruby Star. On Mini Belle, let's see, height is 22 inches and 20 inches wide, hardy down to zone 4. So I imagine that most of these echinaceas are going to be similar to each other in their stats. And then here's one where the tag got broken in transit, and I don't know where the top of it landed, and so I don't recall the name of this one, but I'm thinking it might be Kismet Raspberry, just from the look of the petals on it. It looks like the Kismet Raspberry echinaceas that I saw in the garden center today. So I'm going to guess that that's what this is. But the tag on the back says that it grows to be 16 inches tall, 24 inches wide, hardy to zone 4. And again, it's a beautiful, beautiful color. And I think it's Kismet Raspberry. All right, that's the stuff I bought at Bachman's in Minnesota. Let's go on to the things I bought today. I'm going to start with my Homestead Gardens trip because that's where I went first. All right, I bought Cat's Pajamas Nepota. I've been looking for Cat's Pajamas everywhere all season long, and I finally found some. They had a nice big table of them, and there were about 10 or 15 of them on the table, and I got 5 of them because I have space down there for 5 of them when I take out all the Walker's Low that I have down there. This is a wonderful Nepota in that it stays low, it stays dwarf, it doesn't flop all over the place like the Walker's Low does. These particular plants are in bloom right now, which is kind of surprising because it's pretty late in the season for Nepota to be blooming now. I imagine that when I plant these, I'll trim off these blossoms and let the plant focus on root establishment, and then next spring we're going to have a gorgeous, gorgeous display from these. They may, if I trim them off when I plant them, they may flush out again. They may not. I don't know this season. Cat's Pajamas Nepota, they grow to be 12 to 14 inches tall. And they want to be spaced 18 to 20 inches apart. They're hardy in zones 3 through 8. and they bloom in late spring to early fall. That's again, if you shear them after every time they bloom, they will put out a new flush of blooms. As far as deer resistance, I'm not sure. I think usually Nepotas are pretty free from deer interference. But these are going to be inside my fence where, so far, the deer have not come inside our fence. We've got plenty of rabbits, but so far, not any deer damage on the plants. So, 5 Cat's Pajamas Nepota. All right, now we can talk about this string theory. This is Amsonia. Now, you might remember I just planted some storm cloud Amsonia, which is in the same variety, it's the same kind of plant. It has a similar blue flower in the springtime, but on the storm cloud, the leaves are wider, and these, the string theory, these are more like the native Amsonia in that these have a needle-like leaf on them. These are the ones, the string theory are the ones that are going to turn the beautiful gold color in the fall. String theory Amsonia, 18 to 22 inches tall. Plant them 32 to 36 inches wide. So this is going to be a nice big mounded shrub if it gets in full sun. If it gets in part sun, then it'll be a little bit sparser, a little bit less vigorous. So I haven't picked out my exact location for it yet, but I do have an idea. But pretty much in my garden, nowhere do I have exactly 100% full sun. So this guy is going to do the best he can do wherever I put him. Let's see. They're hardy in zones 4 through 9, and they bloom in the late spring to early summer. But again, they have that fall interest in the color of the leaves. And then they're deciduous. They'll go back down to the ground in the winter, and then they grow from the base in the spring. I'm excited to have string theory in the garden, and I need to find a really good spot for it. Not sure quite where yet, but I love this texture, and I can't wait to see what it does for me. I walked in to Homestead Gardens today, and in the very front entry, they had a display of these. And you can see, I couldn't resist. They don't smell, or at least I don't have a smell right now. I can't smell anything. But anyway, this is Firelight Tidbit Hydrangea. It's a paniculata type from Proven Winners, and they were on sale. They're normally, for the 2-gallon size, this size, they're normally $40. I got it for $20, 50% off. And look, it's gorgeous. It has so many blossoms on it. The reason I got Firelight Tidbit, 1, because it was on sale and such a good looking plant, but 2, these are one of the types of paniculata hydrangeas that will reliably change to a pinkish tone in the fall. Normally around here, we're so hot at night and so humid that our paniculata type hydrangeas don't turn pink. For example, my Limelight doesn't turn pink. It goes white, and then it goes green, and then it goes brown. But this one is supposed to go ahead and turn pink. And actually, there were some at the store that had already started to pick up a little bit of pink color on their blossoms. I picked up this plant because I had 3 blossoms over here, 3 buds over here that had not yet blossomed out, and so I wanted to enjoy the blossoms more than the ones that were already turning pink. Anyway, so this is Firelight Tidbit Panicle Hydrangea. This wants to live in full sun to part shade, zones 3 through 8, and it only grows 2 to 3 feet tall and 3 feet wide. So it's a nice small one, a little dwarf size guy. You can fit him in a lot of places. I have in mind where this one's going to go in my garden. It has summer interest with the flowers and then fall interest with the color of the flowers as well. It is not deer resistant. The deer would eat this up, so it has to be inside the gate in the backyard, in my garden, because we have such deer pressure. This was a 1-day sale, so unfortunately, if you live in my area, this video isn't going to go up today, so I'm sorry if you missed the sale, but I'm excited that I didn't miss it. All right, so now the next things, these are, is that the last of it? Yeah. So these are the last of the things that I got at Homestead today. On my Echinacea kick, I found some that I wanted to try. This is Kismet Raspberry. And the reason I think that that one over there from Minnesota is Kismet Raspberry is because the blossom on it looks very similar to the blossom on this one. So Kismet Raspberry is full sun, moderate water, 18 inches tall, 24 inches wide, and hardy in zones 4 through 10. Wow. Flowers from early summer until frost, large raspberry flowers on a fabulous short upright habit. Each flower is showy for weeks. So I bought 2 Kismet raspberries because I just love the shockingly bright color of it. I lied. I didn't buy 2 Kismet raspberries. I bought 1 Kismet raspberry and 1 Glowing Dream. This is Glowing Dream. Let me put it beside Kismet raspberry. Glowing Dream, Kismet raspberry. Can you see the difference? The shape of the petals is different. On the Kismet raspberry, they kind of curl up and in on each other. And on the Glowing Dreams, they kind of spread out flat and fall backwards a little bit. Also, the cone shape on this one is more cone shaped and the one on that one is more half round. So, Glowing Dreams. This is listed as a top performer from the Mount Cuba Center trials, which is good to know. Let's see, it gets to be 16 to 24 inches tall, 18 to 20 inches wide, and zones 4 through 10 again. This has received a rating of 4.0 or higher on a scale of 1 to 5. It's an ideal choice for beds, borders, and cutting gardens. Perfectly suited to informal, naturalized settings as well. So I'm going to try this one out and see how it performs in the garden. Again, I love the color of it. It's almost exactly the same color as the Kismet raspberry, but the leaf petal shape is a little bit different and the cone shape's a little bit different. So not exactly the same. All right, here is another special echinacea. This is a hybrid one. This one's called Double Scoop Bubblegum, and you can kind of see why it might be called Double Scoop. It has this extra double cone in the center. Actually, this one's different from the one over there, which was called Mini Bell, in that this one you can kind of see where the cone is. The Mini Bell, you don't really see the center of the cone. This one has a little bit of a yellow tinge to it and the hard feeling on the center of that cone. And then it's ringed by these soft pink flowers. And then it has this little tutu skirt hanging down here. So, and this is a less mature one. The the pink side flowers haven't really developed yet on that. And this is what it looks like even younger. So this is the mature one. Okay, so Double Scoop Bubblegum. It's a new introduction with double layered petals of pure pink color from summer through fall. Eye-catching, dazzling perennial for your garden. Blooms summer to fall. It grows 30 inches tall, so a little bit taller than the 2 we've looked at so far, and 24 to 30 inches wide. Zones 5 through 9, so not as cold hardy and not as heat tolerant either. This one is only zone 5. The others have been zone 4 so far. So I'm excited to see how this one will do. I'm hoping those deer stay off of it because it sure is a special looking one, isn't it? The last echinacea that I bought today doesn't have any blooms on it, so I'll be sure to put a picture of it up on the screen. This one is called Conefections Raspberry Truffle. And this is another double flowered ice cream scoopy looking one. Similar to the Double Scoop bubblegum one, similar to the Mini Bell one that we looked at a minute ago. This has that double flowered top. This one is 30 inches tall, 30 to 36 inches wide, so really similar to the other one, the bubblegum one. This is hardy zones 4 through 9, so this is one zone hardier than the Double Scoop bubblegum one. So again, another opportunity to try another type of echinacea in my garden. So I'm really eager to have all of these and see which ones do the best for me. Now, some people talk about the fact that these double flowered ones don't serve the pollinators as well as the traditional Echinacea purpurea or some of the other more traditional looking coneflowers. And that's probably true. But if I offer up all of those other types. I do have straight species Echinacea purpurea. I also have some powwow wildberry, which are great for pollinators. I have some white swan, which are great for pollinators. And then this Kismet raspberry and the glowing, whatever the glowing thing was that I just did, those have traditional cones in the center as well. So I do have echinaceas in the garden to serve the native pollinators. So I can have some of the double ones for my own enjoyment as well. Okay, lots of talking, but that brings me to the end of my Homestead Gardens visit this morning. And so then from there, I drove 5 miles away and went to Patuxent Nurseries in Bowie and I looked at their coneflowers. They didn't have any unique or special coneflowers there, so I didn't buy any more coneflowers there, but I did buy some other things. So what did I get? I got some Jack Frost Brunera. And the reason I got this is because, again, on that hosta spot where I have to remove the halcyon hostas, I want to put in things that deer don't like. And deer do not like Jack Frost Brunera. I have some in other parts of the garden and they leave it alone totally. So I got some of this, and it's going to go in the same area where I'm going to put the Pulmonaria. And I'm just going to make it a silver and green foliage accent color down where those halcyon hostas used to be. And they are a bluish silverish kind of hosta. That area in the garden, I want to keep it in that same color tones, that same silvery bluey gray foliage textures. And so this Jack Frost Brunner is going to be part of that. This is also called bug loss, I believe. I don't have the, oh, here we go. Variegated Siberian bug loss. It has blue forget-me-not similar flowers in the spring, in April and May. 15 inches tall, and it will spread about 18 inches apart. It wants to be in part shade to full shade, and it wants to stay relatively moist in my experience. If it doesn't stay moist enough, then the edges of the leaves start to turn brown. If it gets too much sun, the edges of the leaves start to turn brown as well. So I got 2 of these plants. They're going to spread very nicely in the area that I'm thinking of putting them, and I'm hoping that this will be a deer-resistant solution to my gray garden out in the front of the gate. To go along with those Brunera, I got another Pulmonaria. This one is called Opal. This is, again, deer resistant, similar to the one that I showed you that I got in Minnesota. I also have a spot on Pulmonaria from Proven Winners that I still haven't planted. It's up in its pot up inside the gate up there waiting to be planted. So I have 3 different types of Pulmonaria right now, and they are going to go in the same area that I'm talking about. This Opal variety is 12 to 14 inches tall and 24 inches wide. And it will have flowers on it in the spring that are, the picture here shows that they're a soft whitish pink. So these will be a different flower color than the other ones that I have. So again, this wants to be in part shade, but this says it'll take up to full sun, but I kind of don't believe that. And this is hardy in zones 5 through 8. And these are going to be interesting together. They might be ending up too similar to each other. They're the same shades of green and silvery foliage. It's just that they have a different shape and different texture. So I'm hoping that they look nice together and that they complement each other and don't just blend in so much that you can't even really tell what's what. Another thing that I got to put into that area and to start giving myself a little bit more ground cover in the garden is some bugleweed or ajuga. This is the black scallop variety. These are really dark, luscious, burgundy, almost black. It's called black scallop. Really dark leaves, really thick and textury. Really beautiful specimens here that they had at the nursery. Again, you can see the tag. They are deer resistant. Deer don't like this plant. Deep dark purplish black glossy leaves are fat and scallop shaped, hugging the ground at 4 to 6 inches tall. Performs well in part shade in the container or in the flower bed. If we put it in full sun, it will produce the darkest leaf color and will quickly fill in. It has deep blue flower spikes in the late spring or early summer. You plant them 12 inches apart. It says full sun to part shade. I'm going to be putting them in at best part shade. Probably more like, probably shade. And this is hardy in zones 4 through 11. So nearly all of the continental United States can use this plant. I bought 2 big pots of it. I might plant them just as they are, or I might split them apart before I plant them. Either way could work. And I'm going to put these out in that same area that I've been talking about where those halcyon hostas are right now. And these don't bring in the gray-green theme, but they will provide some ground cover and maybe a nice dark background for the gray-green leaves that are in that area. That's my hope. I used to have some Cardinal Flower or Lobelia in the garden last year, but something happened to it. I don't think I kept it watered enough or something. These are native in the Mid-Atlantic area here, and so I got some more. This is Lobelia cardinalis, or cardinal flower, red cardinal flower, and that's the color of the flower. Red because the gladiolas that I have down in the back garden surprised me about how much I liked them. So I'm going to go ahead and put these red flowers in my garden. Cardinal flower it wants full sun to part shade. It'll grow 2 to 3 feet tall and 1 foot wide. Wants to stay moist or even wet. So this could go in a boggy area if you have one. I don't have any boggy areas. And it blooms in the summer through the autumn. And you may need to stake it if you have it in an area where it's kind of on its own. I got 2 of these just to bring some more excitement to the garden. That was kind of a splurge purchase. I didn't go there planning to buy 2 lobelias, but heck, they looked great, so why not? And then the last things I bought today are 2 more little mini hostas. This one is called Mini Skirt Hosta, and it's got a creamy yellow with green leaves markings on it. This wants to be in part to full shade like most hostas. This is a little miniature one. It will only grow 5 inches tall and 13 inches wide at most. It's hardy in zones 3 through 9. This is a petite hosta. It forms a miniature mound of very wavy, thick, blue-green leaves with creamy yellow margins that lighten as the summer goes on. Pale lavender flowers. You can grow them in containers or at the edge of your border. So this is an interesting looking foliage plant, and it's going to be little curly leaves, and again I'm going to put this with my other miniature hostas and try to find a spot near where I sit on the porch. So that's what this one is, Mini Skirt. And then this little guy is called School Mouse, and again he's a variegated one, and again this one has a little bit more green and more chartreuse. The other one was more blue-green with creamy yellow, so slightly different colors. And this guy also has small curly-edged leaves, striking variegated leaves, wavy foliage on petite mounded plants. Excellent for the garden edge or containers. Short spikes of lavender blooms, ordinary soil. They will withstand drought, but they're most beautiful when provided ample moisture. They can tolerate clay soil. This little guy is hardy in zones 3 through 9. He will grow 6 to 8 inches tall and 12 to 14 inches wide. So, little school mouse, little mini skirt, and little blue mouse ears, the beginnings of my miniature hosta collection. I also bought 2 more stepping stones to put out front in the new north shrub border so that the mail person carrying the mail from house to house can have some nice stepping stones to walk on. And that brings me to the end of my plant haul for today. 3 garden centers, 2 different states, 2 different weeks actually apart, and I have got a lot to do now as far as planting goes, so maybe I'll get some of that planting done today. I hope you'll stay with me in the coming weeks, maybe subscribe to the channel, because upcoming between now and the rest of the summer, I have a couple of garden spaces that I'm going to be revamping a little bit because of what I've learned about the plants that I put into those gardens last year or early this year. I have some rearranging to do, I have some removal to do, I have some rethinking, a little bit of redesigning to do. Don't we all? I mean, is there anybody who ever puts plants in and they just stay there? That's not a concept that I understand. So I have a lot of projects coming up, and there's some exciting announcements coming for later in the summer as well. I'm not quite ready to share all of that yet, but there's going to be lots of more gardening to come here at Harmony Hills. So I hope that you would consider subscribing and following along. Hit the notification bell so that they let you know when a new video is up. Thank you so much for following along on this plant haul. I hope that you're having a wonderful time where you are in your garden, and I hope that you'll come back and see more videos here in the future. Have a wonderful day, friends, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.